Today I'm going to talk to you about Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in all of Africa, and if you choose to climb it, likely one of the hardest things you will ever do. That being said, it is an achievable goal for most people. So in this video, I want to talk to you about the Global Shenanigans Kilimanjaro expedition, tell you a little bit about how that trip looks like, answer some frequently asked questions, and just give you a bit of an overview of what this experience is like, and then it might help you decide if you want to do something like this for yourself. But first of all, let me explain a little bit about my experience with Kilimanjaro and how I am able to tell you this information as someone who has done this firsthand. I've climbed Kilimanjaro 4 times now, and this October it will be my 5th. My first time climbing was in 2020 during the global pandemic. The UK was actually in a lockdown, and I flew out just a couple days before the lockdown started. I went to Tanzania because they were open and in desperate need of some tourism and some money coming in. I met up with my now business partners, who are Thomas and Daniel. They are both from Tanzania. They're my partners and they help me facilitate these trips, and we run them together. So I went out in 2020. It was a crazy time to be there because there was no one else around. I did the 5-day Marangu route and hardly saw anyone the whole time. In fact, on my summit push, I only saw one other person who we overtook early on, and then from the summit there was nobody there, which is such a crazy time to experience something like this. So that was my first time. A couple years later, I then took 2 groups. We went back to back, and then the following year I took another group again. So that's my 4 trips there. I really love Tanzania. Kilimanjaro is a wild challenge. It is very tough, but it is achievable with the right training, the right mindset, and the right people to take you through it. It is an achievable goal for most people with a base level of fitness. But I will get to that, the FAQs at the end. Firstly, I want to tell you a little bit more about how my trips work and the itinerary for these expeditions. So the trips I take, we spend 11 days airport to airport, so flying into Kilimanjaro Airport. I will be there to meet you, pick you up, and then transfer you to the hotel. The hotels we use, it does change from time to time just based on availability, but they're always a nice standard, and they always have a swimming pool as well, because I know it's very important to escape the African heat. Day 1 is just a travel day, so it doesn't matter what time you arrive, whatever the most convenient flight is, I will be there to meet you whenever, transfer you to the hotel, and then that whole day is spare just to hang out at the pool, meet other people in the group, or catch up on some sleep, depending on how far you've come, but generally just to relax and hang out. Day 2 is another sort of rest day. We go to a place called Chemka Natural Springs, which is an amazing natural swimming area in the middle of the dry savanna. So Kilimanjaro has the snow and the glaciers on the top, which melts, and the rainforest lower down. So the water here comes down off of the mountain, and then there's a huge underground water table that spreads out all across the savanna. And at Chemka, there is a place where the water springs, comes up, and there's this crystal clear, really clean, amazing water that flows for about 400 meters and then disappears again. So all around you is dry African savanna, it's dusty, it's hot, and then at this spring is lush green forest and just an amazing area to hang out and again, let the group get to know one another and to spend the day having fun there. Before going back to the hotel, where we'll have our trip meeting with Thomas, he will be there, my partner who I mentioned earlier, and then the lead guide, who is usually Eliezer, so he'll be there as well to talk through the trip, answer any questions, and then after that we'll do the duffel shuffle, where I will go through your bag with you and just make sure you have all the right stuff, and usually getting rid of the stuff that you don't need just to bring the weight down. The following day is when we begin our trek. We do the 7-day Machame route. In my experience, this is the best one to go for because it has just a great variation of terrain. We end up going up one side of the mountain, and then we go up and down various shoulders. So we hike high, sleep low, and it helps us adjust to the elevation. We also see some of the highlights, such as the lava tower, the Barranco wall. We can see Shira, which is the third of Kilimanjaro's 3 volcanic cones. Further along, we then see Mwenzi, which is the second highest, and then finally getting to the summit at Kibo. So with this route, we actually see all 3 of the volcanic cones, which is really cool. So yeah, we spend 7 days trekking on the mountain. Each day, we get to the campsite around 2 in the afternoon, give or take, and then we have lunch at the campsite. So it's kind of like a half day, slightly longer than a half day of walking, and then the afternoons are spent mostly just hanging out, relaxing, recovering, and then on some days we might go for a short walk around the area just to go and explore. So the first few days on the mountain are a slow pace, poly. We're trying to adjust to the elevation, take it all in, enjoy the experience, and just take it each day as it comes. We start in the rainforest, where obviously it could be raining, it could be quite hot and humid, and a bit damp. And then after that day, we reach the moorlands, where the rainforest starts to disperse, and there's a few kind of bushes and shrubs around. After the moorlands is the alpine desert, and then finally beyond the alpine desert is when you hit the Arctic zone, which is high up on the summit where it can be really cold. So we go through a number of different climates as we make our way up. And then finally, the crux of the trip, the hardest part, is the summit night. This is where the challenge is, and it's tough just because of how high you are. So up until this point, we've been having fairly comfortable days. They are strenuous, it can be challenging, but you know, everything is within your limit. And then on the summit night, it's just tough because we actually start hiking around midnight. We have an early start, and it's just a little tough because it can be hard to sleep before that night due to the elevation and the excitement as well. We start around midnight in order to get to the crater rim as the sun comes up. So usually around 6 o'clock, the sun starts to rise, and we want to be near to the crater the best we can when that happens. The sunrise then gives you energy, gives you some power, and then it takes about 2 hours to go from the crater rim to Uhuru Peak, which is the true summit of Kilimanjaro. Usually getting there around 8 in the morning, or maybe a little bit after that, depending on how fast we move. Then we head back down again to Barafu camp, where we just started that push, have a little rest, pack up camp, and then we head down lower again. So it's a very long day, starting at midnight, finishing probably 5 in the afternoon. And then that's what makes this the toughest part of Kilimanjaro, is having such a long day, such high elevation too. But it is just a hike. There's no scrambling involved really. We don't need ropes or crampons or specialist training or equipment. It is just a hike. So if you have the right level of base fitness and more importantly a strong mental attitude, it is an achievable goal for pretty much everybody within that criteria to accomplish. After that day, the following day we head down and out the park, back to our hotel, hang out at the pool, and then the following day, day 10, is a day purely for celebrations and relaxing and enjoying the pool. If you want to add a day tour from there, you can do. If you want to head into Moshi, you can do, but it's really just to celebrate the achievement and have one last day of relaxing before we head off back home. Or you could extend your trip with a safari if you wish. So I've done the itinerary like that. I've added days at the start and a day at the end, because I think it's really important to enjoy the whole experience, take in the surroundings of where you are, and not just turn up straight off the plane, begin hiking, get it done, back on the plane and off, which is what some companies do. So I think it's better to slow down a little bit, enjoy the experience and where you are, and just really just celebrate and appreciate what you have achieved or are about to achieve on your trip. And then the following day, day 11, back to the airport, I'll drop you off and you're on your way. Frequently asked questions. The thing I get asked more than anything is, how fit do I need to be to climb Kilimanjaro? As mentioned, as long as you have a base level of fitness and you are capable of walking every day for 7 days in a row, this is an achievable goal. It's not going to be easy. It will be one of the hardest things you've ever done, but it is achievable and is something you could accomplish if you put your mind to it. We'll be walking an average of about 10 kilometers each day, going a nice, slow, gentle pace, poly, and that actually helps us adjust to the altitude. And then when things get tougher at higher elevation, we actually slow down, we take lots of breaks, and then that just makes it all a bit more manageable as well. For the summit push, again, it is just walking. We're going very slow, we're just pushing on. The toughest part of this trek is the altitude, and that's why in the itinerary we've tried to add some extra stuff to allow for that. So the route we take, the Machame route, is actually a 6-day route, but we've added 1 extra day, making it 7, and then that gives us more time on the mountain to adjust and acclimatize as we go. So we've added that extra day in there as well. The route itself, it has ups and downs in it. So we hike high, sleep low, and that once again is helping us to adjust to the altitude. We move higher, our body recognizes there's less oxygen in the air, so it starts producing more blood cells. And when we sleep lower, that helps the body to adjust and recover and continue to create those blood cells. So then when we push higher up once again, we are able to carry more oxygen through the body and be less tired and exhausted as we get there. So we've allowed that within the route. That being said, you still want to take this seriously, because the more training you can do and the fitter and healthier you are and feel, the more enjoyable this experience will become. You don't want to be struggling for it from day 2 or day 3. You want to be comfortably walking, hiking, and enjoying the whole experience. And then when it comes to the summit push, it's within your stride. You know you can do this, you can push on, and then again, you'll have your head up, you'll be looking at the views, seeing the sunrise over Tanzania and Kenya, having a great time, and you won't be in such a dark place on Struggle Street when you get there. So the fitter you can be, the more training you can do, the better. However, you don't need to be an ultra marathon runner. You don't have to be in the gym 7 days a week. You just need to be pushing your body regularly to achieve that. How do you train for Kilimanjaro? Obviously, the best way would be if you could get up into the mountains in your local area and be hiking all the time, but I know that's just not achievable for most people. If you could get a few trips in, up into the hills, that would be great, but a more realistic training plan would actually be in the gym and to focus on movements that go up. A lot of people, they just think of mileage. They do 10 to 20,000 steps, but they just walk around a flat area near where they live, and that's not that realistic to what you're going to be doing. So instead, you'd be better off finding something like a Stairmaster, or even just a step, like a box step at the gym, or a step in your house or garden.
Right now I'm based down in Cornwall, and there are no mountains here for me to train on. So I'm going to be training with a single step. 1 step, 2 weights, keep it simple. 10 steps up with your right foot first, 10 steps up with your left foot first, 3 to 5 sets, then take 1 weight off of each of them and go again. Keep doing it until you can no longer walk, and then you will be ready for the mountains.
And just take that step up and down and up and down and up and down, and then that is a lot more realistic and a lot closer to the real movements of what happens during this trip. So stepping up, stepping down, that's tension on the knees, that's muscles in your thighs and your calves, your core as well, for stability. And if you can add weights by holding dumbbells or a backpack with some weight in it, that is as close to hiking as you can get. That's also something you could do 2 or 3 times a week. You could do it at home, do it at your gym, and then that way you're really building up that muscle, which is going to help you have that base level of fitness before you start. Other things that are good cardio, obviously if you're into running, go running. But I personally don't like running, so I don't even do it myself. I really just do the box step, like mentioned, and then a normal kind of leg workout, focusing more on number of reps rather than weight. So, for example, it's better, I think, to do 10 or 12 reps per set of 3 to 5, rather than just doing 3 or 4 reps with the heaviest weight you can manage. So that way it kind of builds a bit more of an endurance base rather than just 1 rep max. The way this trip looks like on the ground is I will be there to accompany the group. I'll then have my local team as well, the mountain crew, which consists of guides, assistant guides, porters, and a cook as well. So it's a big crew supporting you, and we follow the guidelines put on by the government, which are there to make sure all the trekkers are safe on the mountain, and the porters aren't being overworked by carrying too much as well. So we have a big crew that help move our equipment from camp to camp, meaning us as hikers, we can just walk with our day pack, which will have water, snacks, rain gear, sun cream, that kind of stuff. Anything you'd need just for the day. And then your main duffel bag full of all your other gear, warm clothes and sleeping bag, and that gets moved to the next camp for us. And then we'll be served 3 hot meals a day of delicious, hearty food.
What's the food like on Kilimanjaro? Delicious. Food equals power on the mountain. So we always have big portions with enough left over for seconds and even third. It's also important to stay hydrated. That's why we have soup, stews and porridge in the morning as another way to get on water. All dietary requirements can be catered for, and there's plenty of time for tea, coffee and fruit. Every meal comes with a view.
The camps, they are specific places set up by the government. You have to stay there, you can't just go and camp wherever you want. So we stay in the camping areas. Each one, it will have a number of companies kind of taking up their patch, and then our tents will be set up, porter tents set up. There'll be a kitchen and a mess tent, and then there is a public toilet, but to be honest, the hygiene levels and the cleaning is not always amazing, so we'll actually have a private toilet that we'll take with us as well. So it's kind of like a porta potty with a tent above it, and then you have a bit of privacy, and that's just for our group as well. So just another level of comfort we can add quite easily on the trip there. Another question people ask quite often is about Diamox, which is a altitude pill. Technically it's not an altitude pill, it's actually used to treat something like in your kidneys or something else, and it just so happened that it is good for adjusting to altitude. People ask if they should take it. The quick answer is it's up to you. The longer answer is it's not really necessary if you follow an itinerary such as this one that has the appropriate amount of acclimatization days built in. You don't need to take it, and sometimes it's better to avoid it because it can actually bring its own set of symptoms and side effects with it. Those symptoms and side effects are very close to altitude sickness as well, so sometimes you're kind of solving one problem and creating another one. It also dehydrates you, so if you do take Diamox, you need to drink a lot more water, maybe an extra 1 or 2 liters per day. I have personally taken it as an experiment. I did 2 trips back to back. One trip I took Diamox, the second trip I didn't. And to be honest, I didn't feel much different on the trip with Diamox. I still had a slight headache on the summit. Someone else in the group also took Diamox, and he seemed to be the same as everybody else. And in fact, the one person that felt the best at the summit, he had 0 signs of altitude or symptoms whatsoever. He was 100% fine. He did not take Diamox. So just like the altitude, everyone is affected differently. There's no way of knowing if it will affect you or not. And then with Diamox, there's no way of knowing if it's going to help you or not. So up to you. If you feel like it's something that you would like to take and have discussed with your doctor or researched online to make sure you are healthy enough to take it, then, up to you. When is the best time of year to climb Kilimanjaro? I think the best time to go is towards the end of the dry season, which would be June to October, and then going towards the end of it outside of UK school holidays. Generally, this means it's going to be a little bit quieter on the mountain as well. What's the weather like on Kilimanjaro? All sorts. In each zone you go through, there's going to be a variety of weather. Obviously in the rainforest, it's quite likely to rain. I've had a thunderstorm in there before. Getting higher up, things get a bit drier, but very cold at night. Waking up to frost on the ground and frozen puddles is quite likely as you get to the middle band and higher up. And then the higher section of the mountain, there is the potential for snow, and particularly during the summit push, there could be blizzards with raging wind and minus 20 degrees as you get to the very top, where there will be some snow on the ground, at least with the glaciers. And if you do go in the rain season, you may have snow on the ground during the trail as well that you'll be walking on. So again, this is why I think it's important to go in the dry season, because you just get the best weather and want to try and avoid the blizzards the best you can. Obviously, it's going to be a tough push to the summit. It would be nice to get there with some clear skies and some views as well. But, the weather is the weather. It's unavoidable. If that happens, you just have to push on and deal with it anyway. But we just focus on probabilities in the mountains and trying to give ourselves the best chance we can get, which is in the dry season. Which is the best route for climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? There's a number of different routes you could take. I'm just going to read them off because sometimes I forget. There's Marangu, Machame, Lemosho, Shira, Rongai, Umbwe, and the Northern Circuit route. I would just focus on 3 different routes. There is the Marangu route, which is the shortest in terms of days because you go a bit more direct, and it's staying in bunkhouses. So if you're not into camping, that could be an option for you. But my actual 2 favorite routes are Machame and Lemosho. They join up together, so they start in different places but link up for the second half. And these are my favorite because you go through the lava tower, you go through the Barranco wall, and you start over at one side, and then you traverse across under Kibo, and that way you get to see a lot more of the mountain too. Another benefit of these routes is you can add extra days onto them. So Machame you can turn into a 7-day route. And then Lemosho, if you really wanted to spend more time on the mountain, you can actually increase to 8 days. And again, that helps you adjust to the altitude. How can you maximize the chances of reaching the summit on Kilimanjaro? We want to do everything we can to increase our chances of reaching the summit. So the big one that you're going to hear during the trek is pole pole. This means slowly, slowly. So walk slowly, don't overexert yourself. This will help your body recover to the energy you're pushing out, and it will also help you adjust to the altitude and the thinner oxygen as you go up. So pole pole is a big one. Make sure you're drinking lots of water, stay hydrated. There is water provided on the mountain. It comes from the stream, so you just have to purify it using tablets or whatever method you choose to use, but there's always water available, so make sure you drink a lot of it. Take a longer route. The 5-day Marangu route has just a 27% success rate, whereas the 8-day Lemosho route has an 85% success rate. So choosing the right route is very important. The reason the Marangu route is so low is because it's the quickest one. People do it because it's a bit more budget friendly. You just get up quick and fast. You don't need as many porters as well because you're staying in tents. So the crew's smaller, which means the tip's smaller. So it just saves a bit of money, saves a bit of time. However, you're not adjusting to the altitude properly, so chances of success drop off massively. So it is worth adding a few extra days just to ensure you're more likely to get there. So choose the proper route. Speak with your guide. Tell them how you're feeling. Just because you feel a bit shit, it doesn't mean you have to turn around straight away. Some signs of altitude are to be expected. You're gonna feel short of breath. You might have a slight headache as you get higher up. These are things that can be managed. by slowing down the pace, taking breaks, taking in water, food if you need to, sugar, things that are going to help boost to get you up there, and then you'll be turning around and going down. So speak to your guide and they will help you as you get up. That's why it's also so important to book with a accredited, professional, trustworthy agency when you do this trip. This is not the time to be going cheap. If the weather turns, an injury happens, you want to know that you are with an experienced guide who has done this hundreds of times before over many, many years. When an important decision needs to be made on safety, you don't want to be going with the cheap option. Here are some extra ways that we prepare for summit success. We have 2 extra rest days before we begin the hike, one at the hotel pool, one at Chemka Springs. Extra acclimatization day during the hike with the 7-day Machame route. Expert local guides with hundreds of summits each. Our group size is limited to just 12 people for a more personalized experience. We provide a full kit list to make sure you have the best and the most appropriate equipment for the trip. And if you don't have anything, we have high quality rental options available. 24/7 pre-trip WhatsApp support group. That way, if you have any questions at any time, you just fire them away in the group and I will be able to get back to you as soon as possible, helping put your mind at ease. It's a chance to ask about gear, training, preparation, whatever it may be, even just sharing some inspiration, some motivational quotes and movies, just to get ourselves all hyped up. And finally, I personally accompany every single group from the airport to the summit and back again. My role on the trip is just to be there as an extra support, an extra helping hand to help motivate you to be there, to answer any questions, to take some weight out of your bag if need be, and just help support you all the way up. I know the mountains can be daunting, they can be scary. It's a huge task, like I already mentioned, but it is achievable if you have that right support network around you and people there to help you up. If you join the Global Shenanigans Adventure family, it won't just be me there, it will be a whole group of your new friends who are there to help one another get to the summit. If you're interested in this experience, if you want to find out if climbing Kilimanjaro is for you, you can book a free trip meeting where we'll have a phone call, 20-30 minutes, just to answer any more questions you might have, and I can help explain the trip in further detail and create a personalized plan just for you to help you prepare for this trip as well. If you want to read more about it, I'll put a link below. That will go to my webpage where there's some more information going over most of what I've just said. You can then contact me via the contact box there, and we can book in a call to go over this trip as well. If you have any more questions or you think there's something else I should cover, please put them below in the comment box and I will get back to you there as well.